I got 4 points. Number one, what is the fourth wave? The term is being used all the time, but different people sometimes mean different, actually most people mean different things by this term. Second point is fourth wave is the new blood into existing organizations. Third point, new organizations that got founded by the so-called fourth wave, and then the prospects of Ukrainian organizations in the United States and more broadly. First and foremost, when people say the fourth wave, quite often they understand it as immigration, the fourth wave of immigration into the United States or Canada or other countries. But then when they refer to the fourth wave, they include everybody who is recently from Ukraine. And quite often, they're not really immigrants. They're here on a 1-year contract or a 2-year study program or a 3-month-long work and travel, which, for example, U.S.-Ukraine Foundation runs, and other countries too. They're not your typical immigration because they do not plan to stay here. They don't consider the United States or Canada or other countries their home. They consider Ukraine their home. They intend to study or earn money. Quite often it's earn money. In Portugal and Spain, the length of stay is 5 or 6 years. Then people go back home because they got enough to put their kid through school, through private university, or they got enough to build a home. In the United States, more often, more than half, they do stay around for much longer. But once again, it's not a clear-cut term, the fourth wave. A lot of them are also different, and Professor Volovina, thank you very much for that report. That covered a lot of what I was going to talk about, so that's going to cut my time. A lot of them, especially the ones on the West Coast and the South, they're not your typical Ukrainian immigration because they're from central Ukraine, they're from southern Ukraine, and they're Baptists or Pentecostals. So they quite often automatically do not come to the traditional Ukrainian outpost, the Catholic and Orthodox churches. So they're different in that way too. Also, a lot of them, because of where they come from, and because the church was Baptists and Pentecostals largely Russian-speaking, they're Russian speakers. Quite a few of them are ethnic Russians. There is also an additional, and that does not get included sometimes in the statistics, there is an additional part of the fourth wave. That's the Jewish immigration. And I would say that's before the 1991 even. Some of them do affiliate with Ukraine because for them it's the motherland. They come from there. But to them, Ukrainian organizations are, well, I could say alien because they don't relate to them culturally. Also, a lot of people who come as fourth wave, whether they're really fourth wave of immigration or whether they're here just temporarily, they're not affiliated with any culture at all. They consider themselves Soviet citizen, and that perpetuates. They go to the Russian parties, or sometimes they ignore any kind of ethnic culture. They get involved in American life. They're here to make money. They escape the horrors of communism. That's it. That's all that matters for them. Question is, which parts of those can contribute to Ukrainian community? Which parts of that fourth wave can contribute to what's going on in Ukraine? Because we can't deny that diaspora, whichever wave it is, and the new arrivals, as they're also called, that they are an impact in Ukraine. When it comes to impact on the Ukrainian-American community, the previous 3 waves, quite a few of these people do want to integrate into existing organizations, especially professional and business. You know, Mrs. Morodsky, UABA benefited. Yes. However, sometimes there's a problem because they come and they say, okay, well, we're from Ukraine, but we're Russian speakers. And we don't know Ukrainian, or we know Ukrainian poorly, therefore we're gonna speak to you in Russian. That's a turn-off, and then when diaspora organization tell them, well, you know, we're a Ukrainian-American organization, you need to speak Ukrainian. It's a good thing when both parties end up speaking English to one another, but we heard on a number of occasions where literally rocket scientists who work for NASA got turned down because the engineering society decided, well, you're not one of us. Even though some people, while being Russophone, are actually patriots of Ukraine, they keep their Ukrainian citizenship, they sometimes plan to go back to Ukraine eventually, and they want to contribute to Ukraine and to Ukrainian organizations abroad. So one point on that, when it comes to trying to integrate, I know it's a touchy issue because Russian language is the language of a foreign country that occupied our country. Sometimes we need to forego that because it's for the good of Ukraine. And it's also for the good of community, because these people, some of them have double, triple PhDs from Ukraine in rocket science, mathematics, economics, and whatnot. When it comes to new organizations, there are kind of two periods, pre-2004, after 2004. 2004, the Orange Revolution really made people think, you know, that гуртом і батька добре бити, or разом нас багато, нас не подолати, together we're many, we cannot be defeated. That really started a new wave. There were organizations that were formed in Canada, in Portugal, in Czech Republic, in Greece, in Italy, where people bunched together because that was the only way for them to survive, to preserve their heritage. That's in Europe. That's easier for them because they're very close. Here it's much more spread. Now with the internet, of course, it's easier. But in 1990s, in the beginning of 1990s, there was no Google. It was hard to find a Ukrainian organization. When I stayed in Kansas for 3 years in the beginning of 90s, I didn't know how to find anybody. And it was in the middle of rural Kansas, and it was like, okay, there is nothing Ukrainian, there is nothing Orthodox, there is nothing Catholic, except for Roman. You're stuck. A lot of people are in the same boat quite often when they come here. Even if they come here to a large city, they don't do the proper research before. Yes, they should Google Ukrainian San Francisco, and they will find the churches, the stores, the theater companies, everything else. So we formed our organization in a way to help people connect with each other, in particular to connect people from different cities. We maintain the database who is from where. So I know, you know, somebody comes and starts looking for somebody familiar, or they may be even from the same school, from the same city. What we did find out, though, when we formed our organization in 1997 is that a lot of the new immigrants, the new arrivals, are looking very suspiciously at any kind of organization. Some of them came here because America is a free country, we want to be free from anything and everything, we've had enough of Komsomol or the Young Lenin Pioneers or the Communist Party, we don't want to deal with anything organized, whether Ukrainian or not. And their love to Ukraine is basically overshadowed by this fear of anything organized. The way to deal with it is to promote the idea that, you know, in the United States, the land of freedom, the ratio of NGOs per person is, I believe, at least 15 times that of what it is in Ukraine. because in Ukraine, under the Soviet Union, there were no NGOs. The only ones that there were the Communist Party branches that functioned in either culture or various organizational issues. It's easier for folks from Western Ukraine. Some of them did have Plast or Sum or Sokil, but when it comes to Eastern Central Ukraine, Crimea, not really that much. So there is that apprehension when somebody tells you, I hand business card to people, it's Ukraine Citizens International Association. And sometimes the question is, so does it mean you work for SBU? The security services, is that where you're trying to keep track of us? People don't understand that there is power in unity. That's another thing that organizations need to overcome. Again, after the Orange Revolution, it became a little bit easier to form an organization. Several organizations actually read our bylaws and decided they want to be their own separate local organization, because you know how it is, to Ukrainians, 3 hetmans. With that, what do we do from now? What are the prospects? What is the need for Ukrainian organization? And how can the fourth wave fit in, including those who are staying here and including those that are going back? It is our opinion that it's dictated by function number 1. What's good for Ukraine? We are citizens of Ukraine. That's our main concern. As you said, Professor Volina, those who are American citizens, their concern, of course, is first and foremost with where they live, the United States, or Canada, or other countries. For us, it's different. We do live here, but most of us still consider Ukraine as the mother country, the home base. Some of us do consider kind of both countries as our home bases, especially those who have green cards or, in violation of Ukrainian law, have dual citizenship, American and Ukrainian. According to Ukrainian law, you're supposed to only have one citizenship, Ukrainian. If you want it, if no, then you should rescind it. But it's a legal technicality that comes into play, and some people manage to have both.